JJ, it's our second ever pre-recorded vacation podcast for We Were Gamers.
Yeah. As you hear this, fine listeners, we are probably out luxuriating somewhere. I assume is what we will be doing.
I hope so.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly which of the 2 weeks this one goes up, but it doesn't really matter because we're on vacation. So we're recording this ahead of time so that you, the fine folks, have something to listen to.
JJ, is your house about ready to blow away?
No?
Oh,
Wait, why would it be? Is it very windy where you are?
We have gale force winds.
Are you serious, or?
I'm saying like 20-ish miles an hour, but it
okay,
feels.
So there's strong winds. Not
yeah,
like
I was right
gale
before
force.
we were gale force. No, yeah, it's real strong though.
Hey, 20 is a lot of miles per hour for a wind.
I thought it was making some noises all night outside, and I thought it was my smoker, like being picked up and moved by the wind,
Like rattled around and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But no, it was this old fence that I have that's like just falling apart, and I guess that was the problem. After, of course, I moved my smoker into the garage and all that sort of stuff. So, real fun, super fun.
Okay, wow. Are things okay? Nothing's fallen over yet, or broken, or anything?
My pool's a mess.
Well, yeah. I mean, it also rained a bunch, so I'm sure it was going to be a mess no matter what, probably.
Anyway, so is your house in one piece after all the rain?
Yeah, it is. Lake Krukowski has left us finally. Still very damp and muddy and wet out there and around, but it's the house seems to be fine, which is good.
Yeah, right on. Well, hopefully the lake bed under your house is going to hold all that water for later use. You can dig a well.
Ha, yeah. I have no idea. Probably not.
Oh man, should we get into it? We should tell people what this podcast is about and what we decided to do for our recorded episode after the homeowner's minute.
Sure. Well, they've had the homeowner's minute, so that's good. This podcast is you and I, who have been friends for a very long time, who used to play a lot of video games and now really don't so much anymore. This is our weekly-ish excuse to talk about whatever we want. And in this case, we have decided we're going to talk about some old games, Andrew. Some MS-DOS or DOS-based video games.
Yes. Yes, we are, because the good old days, JJ.
Yes. They're back. Or, well, in a lot of cases, they never really left.
You can play a lot of these games for free online or download them, etc. They're kind of like in the open source world that nobody really cares about anymore.
I will just go ahead and say some of these games on my list are not free for downloadableness.
Really?
They are, yeah. Actually, at least 2 of them have had re-releases.
Okay, re-release doesn't mean you can't find the original for free. Unless, does that mean it's been reclaimed then and it's not free anymore?
I would say that there is a version of this game that is playable on modern operating systems. Anyway, we'll talk about it when we get there.
Okay. I ordered mine, but I don't know that they're in my favorites order.
So you did put an order in them, but you're just not confident that you did a good job.
I know that the sum near the bottom should be near the bottom, and the sum near the top should be near the top, but I have no idea if they're in an order. And we also said we were going to do 5, but I ended up with 8, and those 8 are actually more like 10.
Okay. Well, you do you. I have a list that also, we said we were going to do 5, and my list also has, I think, 7-ish. So, yeah.
We're real good at this.
We're good at games and numbers. Yeah, it's really tough to do numbers. I'm sorry about that.
I say we just start from... You start from the top, I'll start from the bottom, and if one of us hits something on the other's list first, we just mention that it was on our list, but then we talk about it then.
Okay. Well, if I'm going to start from the top, I'm going to start from a game that probably everyone should have expected to be on this list. I have no idea if it's on your list or not, but it's probably the game that people think of, or at least a lot of people like me thought of, and that's Doom, Andrew.
Oh, see, yep. Mm-hmm. This is why I ended up with like multiples, Because I have another game that's very much like Doom, so I put Doom and that other game on the same line.
Sure. So specifically, when I say Doom, I don't think I ever actually owned a copy of Doom.
Really?
Nope. I definitely played a lot of that shareware first episode, though.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah, the one you got for free.
Right. So you could, I forget, it was like 5 levels or 8 levels or whatever. It's all the important stuff. Look, you get the point of Doom after playing Doom for about a minute.
How deep into these games do you think we should describe them?
I don't know. Like, do people not know what Doom is? I feel like they know what Doom is.
First-person shooter, really pixelated, lots of monsters. There's really not much story to it.
Yeah. Look, Doom is about shooting aliens or demons. It's demons.
Yeah.
Shooting demons with a shotgun, specifically. And there are other weapons, but you should use the shotgun because it's sweet.
It's the best, I think.
Yeah.
Objectively.
Yeah. And in Doom 2, the double-barreled shotgun is the best. There's both. Yeah. Doom is great. I don't even know what we can say about it. There are documentaries written. There are books. The people who made Doom have gone on to fame and fortune.
Mm-hmm.
It is a classic for probably every good reason something can be a classic. People should, if you have not, you should play original Doom.
Doom is a series, yeah.
There is a new game called Doom.
That's Doom 4, actually.
Yes. Doom 2016. Play that too, I guess. It also got very good reviews, but Doom, the original game, you should play. And actually, I believe you still can. There are all kinds of ports of Doom to everything imaginable, from your TI-83 calculator to probably Linux operating systems I haven't heard of.
Doom 3 was actually pretty good, too. I played it on the Xbox.
I would dispute that.
What?
I don't think Doom 3 is very good.
Oh. Doom 3 was good on the Xbox because you could only do the flashlight or the gun. It's terrifying.
So you literally just described why Doom 3 is bad.
It's terrifying.
No, it's a bad Doom game. Because Doom 1 and Doom 2 were about a sense of speed and like just raw running around and shooting people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Doom 3 is about slowly walking down a corridor, terrified out of your mind, and then having to switch back and forth between the gun and a flashlight because video games. When an enterprising modder on the PC invented a mod called the duct tape mod, which does exactly what you think it does, and duct tapes the stupid flashlight to your gun so you can have both. And it works great. Anyway.
It was infuriatingly scary to me, so I said it's a good game.
Okay. Play Doom 1 or Doom 2 instead. Those are much better games.
Well, Doom, I don't know how you argue against Doom 1 being maybe the most influential DOS game.
It should be at or near the top of any list of games, influential games in the world. So that's why I put it there.
Nice. I'm going to go with a game that probably people don't even know about.
And this is near the bottom of your list?
Mm-hmm. This is why it's near the bottom. People probably never even heard of it. Silent Service 2.
Oh, okay. I think I know what this game is, but I want you to explain it to me.
This is the first game that I experienced that was more of a thinking man's game. And for real, it was a submarine hunting game. So you were a submarine, and you were trying to help your Navy in World War II, essentially take over the seas. And you could play, a side. And
so did you get to choose what country you were from?
I can't remember exactly, and I should have looked it up, but I think you played like either Allies or Axis, and that was kind of it. And then it was in the Atlantic. Okay,
so it was the Atlantic specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And I liked this game a lot because it was slow at a time when things were like Doom were coming out, and all these other games, and it was well, where's all the boats? I have to go find boats. I have to like walk around my sub and go to the radio, and it was kind of an interesting comparison to a lot of the games that were out on DOS.
So was this game menu driven?
It was not menu driven as much as it was
like point and click.
No.
Or
Yeah,
did
it
you
was.
have to...
It still had WASD style.
Okay, so you had to actually like walk around your submarine.
You had to walk around a sub, but if you got to the periscope, then you were in like control of your ship.
Okay, gotcha.
And then your ship, it was like, you had to like control the planes and all the other stuff.
Sure, 10-degree down bubble.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It was fun. It was like a way different sim style game. There were like airplane sims and all these other sims, but this was a slow sim.
Sims were big in DOS for sure.
It made my list because it sticks in my head as something that I spent hours on, and all I can remember is staring through a periscope and waiting for ships.
Yeah. So then, when you found them, was it just like fire all the torpedoes?
No. So the other thing you had to look out for was like you had to sneak up, right? Because most likely that ship had a destroyer nearby, and if you shot your torpedoes and the destroyer saw them, then you were getting hunted.
I see. So you would be revealing yourself to shoot at the other submarines.
Mm-hmm.
And couldn't you just sink the ship first and
then dive and try and run away?
Or then go after the submarine?
Well, no, you see, I'm talking about like destroyers, big ships would like start depth charging you.
Yeah, but couldn't you sink them first? And
you
then
could
go
try,
after the
but they took like more torpedoes, and then the rest of the ships might scatter. Because, they were in huge like fleets sometimes, or they were small and you were hunting one ship. You would get your orders. Like sometimes you'd get an order that says, hey, this entire wolf pack is going to try and go hunt down, 18 ships, and so you'd show up and there'd be other subs from your side sitting there. And it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And sometimes you had to wait till night, because it was a little bit easier to sneak up on things at night. There was very, like, a ton of depth for a game that probably shouldn't have had it at that point in time.
Well, I don't know about that. It sounds like there's good reasons to add that kind of depth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are, for sure. And it made it a great game, I thought.
Cool, man. That sounds fun. Do you think it still holds up these days?
I think they still make either Silent Service or Silent Hunter or something like that. So this type of game is still around.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Those kinds of simulation games are fun sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Like the Microsoft airplane ones, I don't think, where you're just sort of flying around. I'm kind of like...
Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Exactly. I'm kind of like, I'd rather spend that time going to learn to fly a real plane.
Yeah. There are a lot of people who are into simulation type games like that, actually. I actually think I have simulation-ish type games on my list also, so...
What's next?
All right. Well, next on my list is actually a flight game. It is the classic, in my mind anyway, and that is Star Wars TIE Fighter.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. X-Wing made my list.
X-Wing is a great game, but I never played it, so I'm sure it's good.
This is another section where I had multiples on one line, because I feel like X-Wing and Wing Commander were almost the same style game.
Oh, no. Wing Commander is like an FMV game to me, mostly.
Okay. Well,
right?
Let's talk about Wing Commander after you talk about TIE Fighter.
Sure. So TIE Fighter is a simulation game in that it is best played with a joystick. You are a Imperial pilot of some kind, and you are flying around in a TIE Fighter. You have the option to divert your energy to, the power to the ship, to weapons, to shields, or to engines. As unfortunately, the normal TIE Fighter does not have shields, but you get other kinds of Imperial aircraft that do later in the game. And then you can choose how to balance your engines. You can't have full power to all of them, right? And so there's a little bit of management stuff there. You have to fly your ship around. It has armaments that do not reload. So if you have you take your, I forget, your missile boat or whatever, it carries 20 missiles, missiles with lock on and whatnot. And after you use them, they're gone. So then you have to do stuff like shoot at enemies with your little laser cannons.
Yeah, I think I miss games where you could carry a reasonable amount of torpedoes. Now the Ace Combat games, you carry 35 missiles. It's what plane carries 35 missiles?
Actually, in the recent Ace Combat games, your ammo just automatically reloads all the time. That's insane. Just have infinite missiles. At least in terms of those games, though, you need them because they have 80 million enemies on screen also. But in TIE Fighter, it was not always like that. There were, there'd be like, you'd be attacked by a squad of X-Wings or, some X-Wings and some A-Wings or whatever. And then that would be like 6 of them. And that was a lot because you didn't have, like, they were pretty good. They had shields, so you couldn't just shoot missiles at them directly. The missiles didn't do that much to shields. And then you had a lot of, flying around, dogfighting, shooting people like you were a cool Imperial dude doing stuff. The one thing I will say about that game is that a lot of the missions were that kind where you have to, like, escort this ship to its destination or whatever. And those missions, as we all know, are not great.
No, horrific.
Just like defend this guy, and he'll get attacked randomly, and hope that he doesn't die.
Yeah, and hope you see the attack on the terrible graphics before it hits him.
The graphics were polygonal, so it was not like, I wouldn't say the graphics were terrible. It was just a question of like, did you know there was going to be a guy that was going to spawn there, or were you still dogfighting with someone else and you weren't paying attention to your HUD or whatever? It might be a little tough to go back to, but this game is available on GOG.com
As
for
is
people
X-Wing.
the people that want to play it. Yeah, and also X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, which is another game that is some kind of marriage of the two, which I never played.
Now, I didn't remember how much like an FMV Wing Commander was. I thought it was more like the TIE Fighter, but...
So there were those parts also.
Yeah.
But
Explain to people what FMV is.
So FMV refers to specifically a type of video called full motion video, which is, I don't know how to describe it. It's like watching a VHS in your video games is usually how it's described. Like it's
it's like
video.
sub-leaded, shown video. So like your little screen in your cabin has like a VHS playing in it.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like that. You could use it to cover the whole screen or whatever. But it's a style of video that is shown, right?
Right.
Wing Commander is a game that has a lot more of a plot than I would say a game like TIE Fighter or X-Wing did. You do have a plot in those games. Your rise to fame as a fancy pilot man. But Wing Commander has like a story with characters and plot points and things that happen in them. All, at least the games that I remember. Maybe I don't remember the original Wing Commander games, but told through like fun FMV cutscenes with actors and stuff.
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay. So what did you like about Wing Commander, Andrew?
The scale of it. Like there was some scale with the TIE Fighter game, but TIE Fighter was so early on that I felt like you could always see the bounds of what you were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And in Wing Commander, they filled your screen. It always felt like you were part of a bigger universe than the 2 or 3, avenues you were essentially going to run down to complete your mission. So I don't know. It just had a scale and depth to it, especially with the videos and everything else that really was above par. They didn't have to go that far.
It did a good job immersing you would say, in their world.
Yeah. Very immersive game. And I think led to huge improvements in other games like the MechWarrior series and other stuff like that, making sure that there was character and story and other things.
Yeah. It helps that, games based on other properties, or in this case, that have like a big fleshed out world and stuff, it really adds a lot to the game to make it feel like it's a real place. I
found an article the other day, and I think I'll post it since we're talking about Star Wars games here a little bit, about the old games like TIE Fighter and, Shadows of the Empire and stuff, where they were filling in the Star Wars universe for a while.
Yep.
It was a pretty good article.
Was it the Extended Universe? It used to be called. Yeah.
All right. So is it my turn?
Yes. Okay. Yes, it is.
Do you remember a game called Jezball?
I believe that I know what this game is. It is a...
what is the name of this style of game?
I would describe it as a cutting game.
Yeah. So essentially what happens is a ball or more than one ball bounces around your screen. Your cursor can face up or down, left and right, and you make walls to
like
try and
sectioning off.
Yeah, to try and section off areas of the screen and essentially remove them from play for the ball to bounce around in. The ball is always moving at a certain velocity. It increases as the difficulty of the game gets harder, and it bounces off the available area. And the point of each level is to cover a certain area of your screen in unusable space.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You want to get as much of the area out as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it gets harder because they add more balls, the balls go faster, etc.
And if the ball hits your cursor while it's attempting to draw the wall,
the wall stops.
Right, and then you lose a life or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that is a game that I definitely played a lot in situations where I probably wasn't supposed to be playing games.
I remember trying to hide this while playing homework.
Yeah,
which is why I remember this game so well.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would do.
And it's the first game that I can remember getting on a computer and thinking, I don't really want to do anything commitment-wise in terms of game. I don't want to get on Doom. I don't want to get on TIE Fighter. I don't want to get on... Sure. I'll just turn on Jezball for like an hour and veg.
Yeah.
It was the first like veg game, like minor addiction game that you'd try to get through your homework at the same time, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that one sticks in my head for that reason.
Yeah, that game's a classic, and is like one of those games that was like freeware / shareware or something.
I can't remember. Did it come with?
I'm sure it
DOS
came with
or
something.
It was on every computer I ever looked for. I don't remember downloading it ever.
I don't think it came with DOS.
Maybe it came with games that I had or something.
Or like, yeah, I have no idea.
Weird. Well, that's Jezball. There you go.
Jezball.
It was not very complicated, but will stick with you forever.
A great game that you could play right now on your phone and would probably also be great.
Yeah. I'm shocked there isn't a version of Jezball for your phone.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I think you just have to look a little harder.
I know there's a version of Breakout.
Oh, yeah, Breakout.
That's another bouncy game, right?
Breakout / Arkanoid. Yep. One of the great games
I think
ever.
the first Breakout was DOS, but Breakout wasn't good until Windows.
The game was an arcade game in like the early 70s or 80s or something.
But it was bad until they got it on Windows and they said, let's start adding like power-ups and all these other things like where your paddle could like hold the ball or you got like laser beams for your paddle.
Yeah. Cool game. All right. Well, you actually alluded to one of the next games that I'm going to talk about.
I'm glad you did it because I didn't know where to put it on my list.
Oh, what?
Go ahead.
Oh, we're talking about Mech Warrior.
Yep.
Mech Warrior 2 specifically.
Mech Warrior 2. It's the last DOS Mech Warrior.
Yes. Mech Warrior 2 31st Century Combat. The sequel to Mech Warrior 2 31st Century Combat is Mech Warrior Mercenaries, which I include basically in the same thing.
That was Windows, I think.
It did come out on DOS.
Oh, okay. But
I looked all this stuff up.
Oh, okay. I thought Mech Warrior 2 was the last one developed only for DOS. Or not only, but...
Maybe. It may not have had a Windows release. I don't know.
It was ported, but it was ported later, whereas the other ones after that released simultaneously, I think, is my memory.
Okay. Well, I played them on DOS.
I played the heck out of them. And that was another joystick game.
Yes. So it's another game where you really do need a joystick to control this giant-sized battle mech. Again, it's a simulation-style game where you are simulating being in a robot that is, several stories tall.
Less simulation than I was describing in Silent Service. It's not like you have to... You have a joystick that controls the servos going left, right, up, and down for your top torso, and you move your legs at a certain speed, but there's really no moving around your mech.
Yeah, it's it's closer... I would say it's more of a simulation than something like TIE Fighter. Obviously less of a simulation than something like Silent Service.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It is less than Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yeah.
But still pretty in-depth. I mean, you can twist the torso so that you face one way and walk a different way because I mean, of course, there's a joint there, so you can twist, right? So your weapons can be fired independently or in groups. You have to manage heat build up from each individual weapon. There's ammo for weapons that have ammo, like missiles and stuff. And it's a great game with a lore and a history and a universe that I think you and I both actually are really big fans of.
I'm in love with it. I wish that it was everywhere all the time. They need to make movies of it.
Yeah, the BattleTech universe is a fantastic one. If people don't know about it, there are wikis and stuff that you can fall into very deep holes listening to, and it's some of the most like well fleshed out universe in like sci-fi, I think.
I would agree with that. I think that there's no way when that new game comes out that we aren't spending at least 1 to 2 episodes fully devoted to that and the BattleTech universe.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
Just maybe the week before it comes out, we do like a huge BattleTech episode, and then the week after we just do a huge harebrained game review.
Yeah, that would be really fun. MechWarrior 2, the original game, follows one of 2 clans that you get to pick. So you're in the clan era of MechWarrior.
The best era.
Yeah, it is one of the eras, that's for sure.
I think it's the era that most of the old books were in also.
Like when the clans are invading the inner sphere, I think is typically the time frame that a lot of people follow in those books.
Do you have a well, no, let's not do that now. Let's not get too in depth.
Save that for the MechWarrior episode.
Save that for the MechWarrior podcast.
In any case, the game I actually ended up playing a lot was the Mercenaries expansion.
The Mercenaries expansion was fantastic. Better than the original.
It is actually basically a full game. I don't know that you even need the other part to play it.
I don't think so.
But it takes the basic structure of the game and turns you into, instead of working for a clan where you do stuff for the honor of the clan and the clan tells you what you can and can't use and all sorts of stuff. In this case, you're a mercenary, so you just got to buy it. You got to find salvage mechs, got to try and disable them rather than blow them up so that you can salvage them and take their stuff. And you got to fund your little mercenary outfit and pay your bills to fix up your mech that got blown up during the fight.
Got to take missions.
Yep. And it is an awesome game. I know there are probably like 8 other MechWarrior games after this one, but this one is still the one that's my jam. There's nothing like sitting on top of a walking nuke reactor at 6 a.m.
Best you wish you stayed in school.
That's literally what they tell you in the training mission. It's so good.
Well, that takes that one off my list.
All right. Well, I'm happy to that we can both agree that is a fantastic game. And that whole series of games, too. The Ghost Bear expansion and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
All really good.
Perfect games. Well, you did Doom, and so I'll hack the other one off that same line that I had, which was Wolfenstein 3D.
Oh, yeah. The precursor.
The precursor to most of the other types of games like that on DOS. And I don't know what the depth of that game was. There was a lot of hidden stuff in there that I never knew as a kid, but I could just remember running through rooms, just fighting Nazis and then getting weird.
Yeah. It paved the way in a lot of ways for stuff like secrets.
Yeah.
And like hidden stuff to exist in games. You just like walk up against a certain wall and like press on it, and then the wall opens up and there's a bunch of secret ammo or whatever in there. Mm-hmm. And Doom actually had a lot of that too. I don't know whether because of Wolfenstein or just because it was something that people did at the time.
Yeah, so Wolfenstein did predate Doom by a tiny bit, but nothing crazy as far as I remember.
The tech in Wolfenstein, a lot of the people that developed Wolfenstein then went on to make Doom, and they looked at that tech and were like, yeah, we could do this, but make it better. And that's what Doom was. And Wolfenstein is a classic, and no one will argue that it isn't.
Something that stuck with me when I decided to put it on the list was the first game I can remember, like a health meter reflecting your current condition. Do you remember this? Where your health, you had like a health bar and told you how much health you had left, but you also had a picture of yourself, and it got like wrecked. It was like worse and bloody and black-eyed and like bloody-nosed and everything else the more damage you were taking.
Yeah, I know Doom did that also. I remember the face of Doom guy.
Yeah.
For those reasons. Again, I did not play a lot of Wolfenstein, but yeah, it's
I think I played more Wolfenstein than Doom.
yeah, it is a classic, and controls great. Still playable today. Stuff that you could load up in like DOSBox or something and play anytime you wanted.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those ones that still gets speedrun, though not as much as Doom.
Yeah,
I don't
for
think
obvious
it has
reasons.
as much following anyway.
It was not as popular. It was a smaller game, and a little bit older.
Okay, well that knocks the Doom line off my list. So what's up?
I just want to actually point out another Doom clone that I thought about including on my list, but I didn't. Which is Star Wars Dark Forces.
Was Dark Forces DOS?
Yeah, it did come out on DOS.
Oh, I didn't even think so. I didn't put anything other than TIE Fighter and X-Wing on here because I couldn't remember. I looked them up, but
Yep.
I thought they were all Windows also.
It came out on DOS. I don't know what.
Interesting.
I mean, if it also came out on Windows, that seems to be irrelevant to me.
Okay.
If it was available on DOS.
All right. Well, Dark Forces should have been on. I guess it's also a Doom clone, so that would go.
Dark Forces uses the Doom engine to play a Star Wars first-person shooter. It is, I think, still a really great Doom-style game. If you want to go back to those, it's a good one.
If I were to replay games that were in the Doom style, I would play Dark Forces before I would play Doom because I like Star Wars more than I like Doom.
Yeah. It did some stuff in that game that you didn't do in Doom. It had stuff where you got out of levels in ways other than just hitting the button at the end.
Right.
Which was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Alternative missions.
Yeah, and like it gave you missions and stuff to do. It's like a wander around this level until you find the key card, which is something that you would do in Doom, right? Find the key card and then go through the door.
Right.
But then not only would you have to do that, you'd have to pick up an item and then bring the item back to the start and put it on a ship or something. And there's a lot of cool ideas. That series went off the rails later, but I thought Dark Forces was really great.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to mention that one since we're sort of leaving the first-person shooter genre here.
Yeah, I'm done with first-person shooters also.
All right. Well, a game that I have on this list that came out on MS-DOS is it my turn or is it your turn? Sorry.
I went Wolfenstein, so it's your turn.
Okay. SimCity 2000.
Ooh, I forgot about that as a DOS game. That is a good one.
And it also was playable. It was also playable on Windows later. It came out like a year later, I think, on Windows. And I actually did not play it on DOS. I played it in Windows.
Oh, okay.
But I can't. The game came out in DOS, so I think that this counts.
I think it's fair. I played it on DOS, so I think it's fair.
SimCity 2000 is a wonderful SimCity game. It is a city building, city management kind of thing. And I played, countless hours of this game.
I can't remember how much I played it, but that's a good one. I didn't think about it because I think I played it on DOS, and then we got a Windows computer and we played it on Windows, so I didn't play it very long on DOS. So I associate it with Windows.
Yeah, it is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful game. All the disasters and stuff that you can bring down upon your city.
They didn't include those in some of the later games. That's how weird like the SimCity series got. Like SimCity 2000 was the epitome of taking all their good ideas, adding in even better ones, and putting it all in one beautiful working package all at once. And then after that, they were just kind of like, well, this is too much stuff, or this is too hard. There's too much going on. This was a hard game.
At least in terms of if you wanted to run a successful city, there was a lot of work you had to do. Like, it is not easy to balance all of the things that are going on. There's crime, pollution. You have to supply electricity to everybody. There's taxes and trade, and like it's a bunch of work.
Real time.
Yeah, and it just runs. You can pause, but you can't do anything while it's paused other than like zone or like build like start construction on stuff. You can't just like make stuff appear overnight, right?
Right.
While you're paused.
You can make the disasters appear overnight.
Yes, and so a lot of the fun for me, at least, I was younger in these days, And a lot of the fun for me in these games was building out my little city and enjoying it, and then finding cool ways to destroy it.
Oh, yeah, sure. You'd get to the point that it was like not fun to manage anymore because you were a kid. You're like,
Right.
I really don't want to see this through to the end. So flood, monster.
Or, the monster was pretty coul. He's someone like a little Godzilla guy. That was pretty fun. The fires were extremely devastating. Flooding for similar reasons. If you didn't have hills, also extremely devastating. There was actually a like pseudo expansion to this game. I don't know if you knew.
I don't.
Or if your version maybe already included it.
Oh, maybe.
That added a bunch of like tile editors and stuff, so you could like edit the types of buildings.
Oh,
and stuff
mine
that
must
you
have come
had.
with it then because we had the tile editor.
Okay, and then it also added some other types of disasters like a volcano, which would sprout up in the middle of your city and create a literal mountain where there wasn't one, and then start shooting fire out of the top of it.
Yeah.
Which was pretty funny and probably the most destructive one because the mountain rising up out of the ground just destroys everything. That was a really cool one. And the nuclear meltdowns were pretty funny. It was just a great game overall. I love that game. I countless hours spent sitting around, dinking around in these cities and raising taxes to get everyone to leave because I hate them because they are mean to me, or taking out like very, very ill-advised loans because I didn't really know how loans worked.
Free money.
Yeah, I'll take it. Oh no, why do I never have money at the end of the month?
Oh man, so good. Also made by the same people that made Civilization, just so people have some context.
Yeah, the company Maxis at the time made both of those games.
Maxis, which changed to Firaxis.
Nope.
No?
Maxis continued to exist.
Oh.
And maybe still does. I don't know. It's part of EA now.
Oh. Well, Firaxis is the new SimCity company, right?
The new Civilizations company.
Yeah, SimCity still with EA, which is
Correct.
the huge disaster of why SimCity that just released is so awful.
The most recent one is bad, yes.
Yeah. Cool. Go.
Anyway, everyone should go play that game.
Absolutely.
You can still play it, the Windows version with a little bit of hacking. You can still play
I think it's on. Oh no, I don't know if it's on GOG or not. I think it is.
I had to do some registry editing to get that game to run in Windows 7. So I'm sure that it probably takes more work to get it to run in Windows 10.
Worth it.
But it was doable, right?
Do you remember a game called Gorillas?
No, I do not.
Ah, I gotcha.
Yes.
So it led to another game that I'll talk about at the end of this that you will remember. Both originally released on DOS. Maybe Gorillas came out earlier, but Gorillas came with your system, but you had to know about it. It was a QBasic game where you had two inputs. You had two gorillas that stood on each side of the field. Your gorilla was on the left, and the opposing gorilla was on the right, which was controlled by the computer or another player, depending on if you were playing two-player or not.
Okay.
And they just stood there on their little platforms with a huge city in between them. Depending on the size, you could like tell the game the size of the level that you wanted. And you had two inputs. You had angle and velocity. And you would put in the angle and the velocity, and your gorilla would then throw a banana at that angle and velocity. And wherever it landed, it would explode with a huge missile command style explosion that destroyed everything around it.
I see. And then you were competing to destroy more of the city than the other person.
Or hit the other gorilla.
I gotcha.
Yes. Pretty fantastic.
I have no recollection of this game, but I suspect I know the game that you were saying that is like that game, which I did play a lot.
What is your guess?
I don't actually remember the name of it, but it has to do with tanks.
Oh, no. The tank one's a good one. I know what you're talking about. But it led to another game that you will remember and played a lot of, Worms.
Oh, yeah. Worms is so good. So good.
The first Worms game. I
forgot completely about Worms.
Yeah, the first Worms game, you only had, I think, the bazooka, which did the same thing as the banana in Gorillas, which just destroyed parts of the level.
Interesting. So I did not come into Worms until later, after it had the ability to have a whole bunch of different types of weapons.
Mm-hmm.
levels that are more than just like you and a person standing there,
Right.
where you'd like walk around in them and reposition yourself and lay mines and all kinds of stuff.
Right. So the first worms, as far as my memory goes, you could move around a little bit. You had complicated levels-ish for the time, and bazookas.
Yeah. The bazooka's still so good.
It's the best. Anyway, so Gorillas led to this other game where people were like, well, if we take the velocity and the other thing and we program it in based on how long they, hold the space bar, then
Yep.
It's a whole different game. It was fun. Anyway, so Worms, everyone should try at least Worms 2, I think, is the best Worms.
There's lots of great Worms games.
Yeah.
And like you got to worry about wind, and so if you shoot into the wind, a lot of the time your shot will kind of.
Mm-hmm. The objective of Worms is to remove the other team's worms from the map by either hitting them until they lose all their health, blowing them into the water, etc.
Right. I found the most effective things to do usually would be to knock them into the water because it just kills them immediately. So weapons like the baseball bat are really awesome. You just walk up to them and do-do-do-do-do, wham, and they fly off the screen. It's pretty good.
The reason I remember Gorillas the best, though, is because what kids game? I mean, the angle and velocity? Like who does that to kids?
Yeah. I played a lot of a tank version of that game. Where you had, a tank and you had to do a similar thing where you would like aim and, up and down and then try and shoot the other person's tank.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard.
Yeah.
It got really hard.
Yeah. It didn't make a lot of sense, until later when you were like, okay, if this is smaller, this goes for,
Yeah. It tried to teach you physics intuitively when you were a kid that didn't know what physics was.
Right. Exactly.
I imagine if I played that game now, it would be a lot less difficult.
All right.
I could figure out how to aim a lot better.
Your turn.
So the last one, or at least the last in terms of the 5 that I have, is a game that I am fairly certain you did not play and may not know much about at all, but I played a bunch for a couple summers when I was young, and that is Might and Magic 2: Gates to Another World.
This is all you, buddy. Never touched it.
Thought so. So this game is a role-playing, dungeon-crawling game in probably one of the truest senses. I know my family got it on like one of those CD-ROMs that has like 50 games on it or whatever.
Good old ROMs.
Yeah. And I didn't know what half of the games on that CD-ROM were. I don't think I played half of them, but I played a lot of this one. And it is I definitely never beat it because at the time I could barely like understand how to play it, but it has all the stuff you think of in like Dungeons and Dragons, right? There are classes, characters, everyone has hit points. You roam around the land on some kind of quest, but they don't tell you anything other than like, hey, you need to go see this guy. He's at the tavern. They don't tell you where the tavern is. They just dump you in a giant land.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you just got to explore. So, like, if you were smart, you would, like, draw a map. But I'm a kid, so I didn't do any of that. I just roamed around the land with my party of paladins and clerics and fighters and whatever, and did whatever I felt like. It was a really, really... I credit that game with a lot of what made me love games like D&D and stuff. It was the kind of game where, like, to figure out which spell you had to cast, you had to consult the manual because there was no space in the game to describe the spells to you. It just had like you'd open the wizard's spell book and there's like 1 fireball, 2 whatever, 3 missiles, 5 teleport, and you didn't know what teleport did. You had to go into the manual and read about teleport, and it's a 4th level spell and it did all this sorts of thing. And like all the doing stuff like that was very much my jam.
That's awesome.
I didn't play it for very long, mostly because I continually died, because they don't tell you where to go, so you just wander around, and then all of a sudden, oh, I shouldn't be here. This is like a manticore, and my party's level 1. Yeah.
They just walk you into your doom and don't warn you?
No, you're just walking around, man. You don't know where you're supposed to go. I'm just wandering around like an island or whatever.
This is before adaptive difficulty existed in games.
Oh, yeah, there's none of that. You didn't know where you're supposed to go, so I'm just wandering around,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is this a dungeon? Am I supposed to kill stuff in here? Great. Okay. Oh no, this is a dungeon for people that are better than me. I am slain. Yeah, a really, really fun game. It's a whole series, Might and Magic. There are probably like 8 or 9 of them. No, wait, there are 10 now.
Heroes of Might and Magic?
No, Might and Magic.
Oh, okay.
The Heroes series is a spin-off series of this.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that was a spin-off. I thought it was just a shortened title.
Nope. Yeah, so Might and Magic is an RPG, like party-based RPG game. Heroes of Might and Magic are strategy games, and they're also great. Actually, if those games had not come out or had come out earlier and had been on DOS, I would have put those because they're better than this.
Cool.
But yeah, anyway, Might and Magic, specifically Might and Magic 2: Gates to Another World, great. There's like 5 other ones, probably also all of which came out on DOS, but I didn't play them. So
nice.
Yeah.
Is it me? It's my turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Did you play any of the Super Solver Learning Company games?
Oh, yeah.
Gizmos and Gadgets, Midnight Rescue, Treasure Mountain, Operation Neptune.
Yep.
They also,
Treasure Mountain. Yep.
They also owned Oregon Trail.
Oh, yeah.
All those games were from this amalgam of these two companies that came out and were like, we're going to make games for kids and they're going to learn stuff. And they were actually fun. I would.
Which one specifically are you calling out here, or is this just all of them?
I couldn't pick. Every time I'd look through the list of everything they came out with, I'd be like, oh yeah, that one's great too. I think if I had to pick of all of them, I think Gizmos and Gadgets was the most fun one because you built a lot of stuff in it. It taught you the most. Like, I learned how electricity works from that game.
Right. I definitely played that one. I think I was getting older when that game came out.
Makes sense.
And I don't know that I was as into that, but I played a lot of Treasure Mountain.
Treasure Mountain was great too. It was just a little less in-depth than I think they got later with Gizmos and Gadgets.
Yeah, definitely. Gizmos and Gadgets was a lot more of a game.
Yeah, where you had to assemble your glider to beat Marty in his glider race, but you got, different tail end parts, different wings, different bodies, and I all did different things, and it was fantastic in terms of trying to learn how you could beat the game, and by trying to learn how you beat the game, you learn things about aerodynamics, or you learn that, like, oh, you hook up positive to positive and negative to negative, and then your circuit works. Or how do I add a switch to this circuit? Or, it's like science camp on your computer.
Yes, actually, that's a really good way to describe it.
It was really good, though. It was fun.
Yeah. Oh, no, I played a lot of those games, for sure. Yeah, they were awesome.
Unlocking doors required you to do puzzles with electricity or like weights or volumes or all that sort of stuff.
Or like they were like little math puzzles, but not like directly asking you like, what's 8 plus 8? It would be like, oh, you have to get so many apples into this basket, and like using pulleys. Yeah, it's like, how do you lift up these apples so that they're this size and this size? Well, what you're actually doing is doing fractions and math, and like you just don't realize it.
It was pretty great. So that would be my call out from the list. But Midnight Rescue was good. Operation Neptune was awesome. I don't know if you remember that one, where you were the sides. It was a side scroller with a submarine, but you had to like always make sure you had enough oxygen and all these other things.
Yeah, I don't think I played that one.
It was pretty good. And obviously Oregon Trail is amazing. It's owned by the same company, completely different in terms of the rest of the things in this series, but they get a shout out because it's the same company. And it came out on 2E, so it's hard to call it a DOS game.
Yeah, I did not play it anywhere actually outside of school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I only played Oregon Trail in school.
I actually didn't own an Apple computer until much later, so I played it on DOS.
Yeah, Oregon Trail is a fantastic game, of course. You died of dysentery.
Always.
Yep. Or your entire wagon gets swept away trying to ford the river.
The easy river. Always the easy river.
Right? It's like, oh, this is a shallow river. You should be fine. Oh, there was a flood. You're lost half your sheep and oxen. You're like, what? Come on.
Yeah.
It's just a little river.
Timmy had a broken leg, so he floated away.
Well, that's probably good. You didn't want to waste your supplies on Timmy.
I always tried to save the broken leg people. Maybe I shouldn't have.
Yeah, I think you got to be pretty mercenary to win those games. In a way that I wasn't when I was a little kid.
All right, you're up.
I have concluded a list of 5.
I'm just going through it, man.
Well, we'll keep going. The next one that I want to talk about is XCOM UFO Defense.
Oh man, I saw it and I was like, I'd never played it, so I couldn't list it, but I knew it was a big one.
Yeah, and actually the later XCOM games, I actually ended up playing more of than this one. Specifically, I played a lot of XCOM Apocalypse, which is the third one, and probably the last one to come out on DOS.
Were these actually called XCOM when they came out? I saw UFO Defense, but I didn't know.
So the game was marketed in the U.S. as XCOM: UFO Defense. The game in Japan and other places is called UFO: Enemy Unknown.
Oh,
and it's the same game, so don't get it twisted. But the game, it was just called here XCOM: whatever, and it tells the story of XCOM, this supposedly secret world defending organization defending the world against aliens. And that game is hard. I don't know how to describe it in any way other than just really hard and really unfair. You have to manage your agents. It is a management game in the most like micromanagiest ways. You have to buy and sell people to be your agents. Your agents get stronger over time. They increase their qualities or whatever. But you have to outfit your agents with every single thing. You want them to have a gun? You better give them a gun, because otherwise they're going to walk out there with their fists. They have nothing. You want to give them body armor? Well, you better equip that too. And they have each person has a carrying weight. And when you fly out to these missions that you have to do to stop these aliens, you fly there in a literal plane, and you line your people up inside the plane so that they have to exit the plane, one by one, in the order that you line them up in. So if you put your good guys in the front of the plane, too bad, you got to wait till the back guys move.
Now, remind me, I think that in that game, plane travel was not like, oh, okay, and I sent them on the plane and it was instant. So, if the UFOs were already attacking Paris and you hadn't already sent your dudes on a plane towards there, it was too late.
And so what you would end up doing is you'd build bases that cover various parts of the world. So you'd establish a base, say, in North America, and that base would cover maybe North America, Canada, South America, that kind of area. Establish it in Mexico somewhere, and then cover most of South America and the North American continent. But then if something happened in Russia, you'd have no idea, because you don't have any vision there. Your radar or whatever doesn't show you, or you wouldn't be able to respond in time. So you need to establish other bases, and those bases have their own personnel and own costs and stuff. And then you have to fly from or establish a base in Antarctica, so you could cover the top half of the world, and then some in Africa and South America. And anyway, each base has its own people, its own planes, its own money, and your organization gets funding based on how happy the people of the world are, the countries of the world are with your performance. So if you let their lands get invaded by aliens, they're not going to pay you. Because probably the aliens take over and then they stop giving you money. Or everyone's dead, one or the other.
I remember reading how merciless that game was.
The quintessential thing in XCOM is, at the very beginning, you fly this plane called a Sky Ranger, where you take all your guys, right? And you take it to your mission, wherever it is. The most dangerous part of the mission, because it's sort of like an isometric game where you're looking down 2.5D on your guys. But because all your people are in the plane to start with, the aliens have rocket launchers, dude. They can just shoot at your plane and blow it up with all your people in it while they're still in there on the first turn. And then all of them die. It's very unfair. The game is... It has a lot of, because all the alien movement and stuff happens, outside of your little vision area, and it is turn based, so that, you'll get a chance to react, but it is a really, really unforgiving game. And I played it quite a bit when I was a kid, but, as I said, I played the third one, XCOM Apocalypse, a lot more. But again, those games are just brutally unforgiving.
I'm glad you put it on the list because I was sad that I had not played it, so I couldn't list it because it was a very influential game, something that's uber popular still.
Yeah. The new XCOM games have been very popular. XCOM, I forget what the new one was called. It might have been called XCOM Enemy Unknown.
Well, there's Enemy Unknown and Enemy Within are the two most recent ones.
Okay. And then actually XCOM 2 is more recent than those.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, those games are very popular, and so by all accounts were really great. I can tell you the original XCOM was good, and that XCOM Enemy Unknown was also good. And I don't know about XCOM 2. But yeah, great games. Wonderful simulation style, kind of micromanage your fight against the aliens stuff. Really cool.
I'm going to go into another sim that is also a huge management-y style one that I cannot even calculate the amount of hours sat in front of.
Okay.
EGA Trek.
Ooh. I have never played this game, but I know of it.
Okay. I love this game, and if you recognize the word Trek, there's a reason you recognize the word Trek. This is a Star Trek game.
Yeah, it is.
But they didn't call it a Star Trek game for whatever reason.
They didn't have a license.
They didn't have the license, even though they worked with them on tons of stuff, and the enemies in it look exactly like Klingon battle cruisers. It's not a Star Trek game, but it is. So essentially,
right.
The way that this game worked, you had your ship in the middle of the screen on a map, and that was not your ship. It was a representation of your ship. You were actually sitting in your ship, and everything on your screen was a management of all the systems of your ship, and what you were looking at was an actual map of the stars and sectors and everything around you. So it was like radar kind of, basically.
Yeah. Got to scan your surroundings.
Exactly. So you had, on the top left were like all your systems, like what your shields were at, how many torpedoes you had left on board, how your power was, if there was any damage to your ship. All that was like running down the left side of your screen, and the bottom right also. You could type commands into the bottom right. There's like a huge menu you could pull up with all the commands you could type in. Like you had to type in commands. It was like, damage report was a command.
Yeah, how are you going to know what got damaged when you got shot at by those Klingons?
Like, if you wanted to shoot a torpedo, you had to type in a command.
Fire.
Right. Well, but like fire where?
But like fire where, exactly.
So there was like a battle...
Like fire target 1 or whatever.
Well, no, so it was like a battleship-style grid for the sector you were in. So you're like, fire torpedo at A1, B2.
Oh, man.
Uh-huh. Fire lasers at A1, B2 at 50% power.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Or, like shields up 100% power.
Yeah. Oh man.
You could pull up to space docks, but if you wanted to dock, you had to like take your shields down. So shields down 0% power, dock with blah 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 at A2, B2, reload torpedo, like you had to type all these commands in there.
Did it make you good at typing?
No, I'm still terrible at typing.
Okay, I was just wondering. So is the game happening around you real time while you wait and type your commands in, or is it more of like you do something, they do something?
No, so like if you sit around and don't do anything, the Klingon ship's just blasting away at you with torpedoes.
Up. Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and if you shot torpedoes at a ship with their shields still up, they did nothing.
Right, because torpedoes don't work on shields. Everyone knows this.
So you had to like take down the shields, and then you have to ask for a report on their shield strength, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pretty great. So you had also another map that was like your sector map, and you could fly around to different sectors. It would tell you with numbers. If you were able to scan it with your long-range scanners, it would tell you with numbers what was in the sector. Were there any stars? Were there any friendly ships? Were there any enemy ships? And were there any like black hole? There was like 4 numbers, and it would be like 0010 or like 1120. You had to remember what each number meant, and what that meant was in that sector. whether you wanted to go explore it. If there was a planet, you could send your people down and explore and see if you could get anything from there. It was like an exploration game, like Star Trek, basically, right?
Was there an actual goal, an end game, or was it just go around and have
That
fun?
was the best part. There was, as far as I could remember, no end game. There was the overarching story that the Klingons were invading.
So you wanted to get rid of the Klingons, but like they weren't telling you like
There was
go here.
Yeah, there was no like
this.
mission to get rid of the Klingons. There was definitely, you would get reports like incoming transmission, starbase, blah blah blah, and sector reports, Klingon battle cruiser incoming. And you'd have to try and get there in time.
Oh yeah, just like Star Trek, man. That's nice.
It was a great game. I want to get it working again. I can't wait to try it again.
Well, DOSBox is a thing.
Yep.
That people can download. It's a free program that emulates running DOS in like a little window in Windows, so you can play these great DOS games on your modern PC.
Did you have any more?
No, that's really my whole list. Do you have another one that you want to throw in there?
No, that was a good way to end it, I think.
All right. Well, we'll end with EGA Trek as Andrew's greatest DOS game.
I think if I had to order them, that still would have been my number one.
All right. Well, I think it's a worthy number one, with my number one being Doom.
Nice.
Also worthy.
Very worthy. Completely different.
Yeah.
Interesting. Mine is so different than yours if we had to pick our top one.
Just like in terms of like importance and like amount of time that I played, Doom. Yeah, for sure.
I definitely would put EGA Trek in the amount of time played. I don't know if it's as important of a game, but I'd certainly think it is for me.
Yeah, if I have to list mine again here real quick in order of time spent, not necessarily whether I like them or how good they are, but time spent, it would probably go SimCity 2000, MechWarrior, Doom, TIE Fighter, and then Might and Magic.
Oh, wow.
But that's just time spent playing, because you could play SimCity 2000 for 1 million hours.
I'm not even going to try and rank them in terms of time. I know Super Solvers series is close to the top, and then EGA Trek still probably crushes all of them.
I played a bunch of that when I was a kid, too. So
Nice. Well, if we forgot any games, or if you want to tell us something you put in DOSBox that we should try, you should get a hold of us where, JJ?
The email is podcast@wewergamers.com, or you can get at us on social media @wewergamers, Facebook and Instagram. We're on both of those. Facebook.com/wewergamers. Give us a like, follow, subscribe, all those sort of things. Leave a review on our podcasts on Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever fine podcasts are available.
And we'll be back next week. I think this is going to be the second one to air, so we'll be back next week with all the stuff we missed. Hopefully there's some new Switch news, and Fire Emblem will have come out.
Oh yeah, we'll have some. JJ will have played that game, probably, unless his phone broke.
Oh yeah, between both of our airport time and everything else, I'm sure we'll have a lot to say about Fire Emblem.
All right, well, until then.
We'll see you soon, everybody.